Hey, what's up, everybody? Um, okay, so there's probably gonna be uh, there's probably some of you that have not seen what this is about. So this is like a just like a precursor. This is like a serious stream. Like we're having a serious conversation. Um, just so that I don't know, like everybody kind of gets the vibe of like what we're gonna be talking about. Okay, hold on. I'll start in like a little bit when more people have shown up because it takes a little bit of time for for people to get in. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna like talk about everything that's going on in a moment, and also I have a lot that I have written down to address, but I also I don't know. I'm like not trying to follow my little notes too much. I just kind of want to talk, but um, and also I turned off the ads, but if it still happens, sorry. They you will probably get pre-roll ads just because there's I can't do anything about that. But I did turn off the mid rolls, so I think yeah, I think we should be okay on that. Um, also, just gonna use this as like a little moment to say thanks to everyone that donated. There's actually quite a few people. Someone anonymous gave $300, which is huge. So whoever that was, thanks a lot. That's great. Um, QR code and chat are in the same place. Oh, well, luckily the QR code is on top of it, which is the most, which is what matters really. But yeah, if you want to donate, use the QR code. Um, so yeah, okay. um, yeah, and there's also I forgot to. There's a command. There's a command as well. I forgot about that. I forgot to put that in the title. It's exclamation point True North Aid. I think is oh yeah, and it's also pinned in the chat. So that's that's good as well. Yeah, it works. Okay, sick. Um, okay. Also, yeah, I should have the. I think we just got a donation for the thing. Yeah, Meg donated. Thank you, Meg. Thank you. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'm just gonna try to kind of talk about all of this as best as I can, and then talk about what we're fundraising for a little bit as well, and yeah, couple of other things on that as well. It's okay. Okay, it's been like 6 minutes. Yeah, I think we can start in a second. Hold on. Yeah, thank you to everybody that's donating. Because also the thing had an original goal of 1,000, and then we just kind of flew past it, which was very nice of everybody, and just everybody showing their little appreciation and support is very sweet, and I think it's been nice to see everyone's uh, kindness. And also, like, yeah, I think there's like some people that don't know what's going on, so I literally just I'm gonna start in a second, and then you'll get a picture of what's happening. Because I tweeted about it, but like not everybody uses Twitter, so like I understand, not everybody uh like sees everything, so it's like okay. um okay, let me just okay, first of all, right, so what's happening is that earlier this week, uh, I was reached out to, and I was told that unfortunately last June, um, an active member of our community passed away, and one of one of their last wishes was to be buried in one of my shirts, which is uh, it's I don't know. There's just a lot that I want to go over, and I'm just I don't know. I have a lot written down, and I'm trying to like think about where to start, because I kind of had this like whole thing written up, but like I don't really want to like read off of it, because but also I probably will, because I just have a lot of trouble kind of keeping my train of thought on this. Um, but yeah, basically, we lost an active member of our community. His name was Gap. I believe his username in the chat was gapification. I think that was it, and or gapification. I think that was it. Sorry. And it was when I found out, I immediately I don't know. I was speechless. I didn't really know what to say, because number one, I had to. Yeah, you can save the VOD, of course. I'd never been on the receiving end of a gesture like this, and also as soon as I read the name Gap, it rang a bell for me, because that's kind of the thing about Twitch is, I go live, and after a while, you kind of start to recognize the regulars, uh, and um, yeah, it just immediately I recognized the name, and then soon after, I was hit with the realization that I don't think I've seen that name around in a while. And uh, yeah, uh, and then I honestly I didn't know what to say at all. I've never really dealt with something like this before, and I was just pretty beat up about it. And then I asked Faith, who is the person that reached out to me about this. Thank you if you are in the chat. Um, I asked if I could see any of his social media profiles, and they sent me a bunch of them. They linked his TikTok, his Twitter, um, and it was I don't know. It's just it's first of all I want to say I really want to thank Tristan, his partner, who I've been keeping in contact with over the past week, and he has been kind of helping me learn about him, and it's genuinely been a real pleasure getting to know him, because he really did seem like a bright, great person. Um, and I've actually one of the things we're going to talk about is I've written up a bunch of things about him. Just kind of introduce you guys to him as a person, and then also at the request of Tristan, I set up this fund. He's the one that suggested this to me, and it's for a good cause. I'll talk about it more later, but it has to do with Indigenous people in Canada, and providing assistance to them. So yeah, but basically, yeah, it's really sad. Um, I when Faith linked me those profiles, one of the things that they linked was a comment that Gap had left underneath one of my TikToks a couple weeks prior to his passing, and it was a really sweet message. It basically said, I actually have it written down here. Um, it said, "This is beautiful and amazing, and you're wonderful, and we love you." And from that point onward, I was just I was a bit of a mess. It was really it was I don't know. It was just a very sweet thing to say, very very kind thing to say. And then I clicked on his profile, and it was just the profile of, like, every teenager, just talking about all the music that he loved, and how much he loved his boyfriend, and uh, all of just anything that honestly I used to post at that age. Um, and it's just he was 17 years old, um, and it's just kind of unfathomable to think about it, even though and I'll go into this more later, but uh, now that I'm older, seeing someone that's 17 go through those kind of struggles, it's really heartbreaking. It's so terrible to think about. And when you're 17, you don't even realize how terrible it is to go through such hard things. Um, but um, Sorry, I'm like a little bit. I've been like kind of rehearsing this for the past few days, and now that I'm actually live here talking about it, I'm still kind of like I'm still, I don't know, a little bit all over the place. So bear with me. I'll probably get better at this as we progress. But yeah, it was just his comments were full of people that loved him, that were just talking about how much they miss him, and I think some of those people are here today. And it just immediately opened a window to this person that clearly had so many amazing, sweet people around him, and yeah. So I also because I wanted to because the name ringed a bell for me. I wanted to see if I could recognize their profile, and when I saw their Twitter, um, it was I saw the picture of his cat, which was his profile picture on Twitter. It was this orange cat, and I immediately recognized it just because he used to be at the top of my replies all the time, and it was always really nice stuff. And I was scrolling through his Twitter and seeing some of the things that he had said to me, and it was there was this one tweet in particular that I saw that I remember seeing it very vividly. It was a picture of his mom wearing one of my beanies, and it was just, I don't know, it was a very sweet picture. And he said like, ever since I moved out, my mom has been wearing your beanie, and that seeing that really like hit me hard, because I remember seeing that message really vivid, that tweet really vividly, but I thought, I like, in my head I would have placed it to like a couple months ago, and then I realized that it was, I think it was like last May or April, and something about that just really like hit me. It hit me really really hard. So yeah, I think I would like to start with just um I don't know, telling you guys a little bit about him, because we're I'm sure that a lot of you saw him around, and and I don't know, I think it would be kind of sweet to learn about him. I think this is. I think I'm just gonna like read this part off, because I don't know. I just want to be like clear and concise about it. There was one point in VC where we all made a puzzle of your face. I think I remember you liking it. He was so excited. Yeah, I do also. I remember something like that as well. So um sorry. Okay. Um a lot of this is a little bit redundant. I've already mentioned this, but this is what I wrote down for this part. I also want to thank his boyfriend Tristan, who I've been in contact with over the last week. He told me a lot about him as a person and recommended the charity which we are raising funds for. Um, he told me Gap was someone who was unapologetically, uh, who always unapologetically remained true to himself. This is a quality that I really admire in a person, especially when they're 17 years old, because truth be told, it's something that I struggle with sometimes even now. Um, he would lend his ear and time to anyone who needed it. After after posting about him, it became apparent how many people he had in his life that loved him, because there were so many people in the replies that were sharing pictures of him and memories of him and stories about him. Um, so it was like this really sweet small glimpse into the impact that he had on all the people around him, um, in his short time with us. Um, and yeah, it was really sweet to see, but it was also just heartbreaking, because you can't help but wonder uh, about all the great things he would have accomplished. And also, I was told about I was told about his interest in activism. He was indigenous, and thus he was quite inspired to take part in activism himself, and he was even recognized for it in news articles, which is I don't know, that's amazing. And I was also told that he enjoyed watching Twitch streams a lot, uh, particularly my stream and Wilbur's stream, and a lot of the people in the replies of the tweet also talked about all the appreciation and love that he had for this community and the people in it. Um, so and he was also a really big fan of Sinjin drowning as well. I was also Tristan sent me a playlist that he had made uh, of songs that reminded him of me, and to be honest with you, like he did have me pinned down. Like half the playlist was Frank Ocean songs, so he knew me pretty well, frankly. Um, and yeah, he was also a really really big fan of Lovejoy, My Chemical Romance, and Crywank. And yeah, they actually played a Crywank song at his uh, his funeral. Um, and also, just like a lot of you guys, he was a drainer, a big appreciator of Blady and Echo 2K, and also really loved BTS, particularly J Hope. Um, and as we're all uh, we all like movies in this community. His favorite were Mr. Fantastic Fox, or Fantastic Mr. Fox, and 10 Things I Hate About You, which are really great films. And I've always kind of thought that you can tell a lot about a person just by their favorite films. Um, and I think, these are pretty great ones to have as your favorite. Um, so yeah, that's he was just from like all the replies I saw that he gave to me, and all the just things I heard about him, he genuinely seemed like such a positive and sweet and nice person. And it's you know it has broken my heart knowing that he's not with us anymore. It's very sad. And yeah, I don't know. I'm proud to have played a small part in his life, and it means a lot that someone as cool as that gives a shit about me. So it's very awesome. Um, and yeah, to speak a little bit about this fundraiser we're doing as well is I fell off a cliff at a memorial party we had for him. We all got together and had a party in memory of him. Yeah, you. I just want to say also to all the friends in chat, you guys all seem like wonderful people, and anyone would be lucky to have people like you guys around. Um, you guys are great, truly. Um, very just I don't know. I've just been witness to a lot of love this past week, and it's been very heartwarming to see. Um, but yeah, the fundraiser we're doing because Gap was Indigenous, and he advocated for Indigenous rights. It was something that he was very passionate about. Um, I was recommended this charity because it's kind of what they deal with. The True North Aid particularly assists Indigenous people who live in northern Canada in remote communities that are typically kind of brushed aside by the government. And there's a couple of things I'm gonna mention about Indigenous people in Canada. It's a very sad situation. Um, there's a couple of things. Hold on, let me get back on track here for a second. Because yeah, it's a subject that I read I read up about a couple years ago, and I've read up about it again now, and it is terrible. It is absolutely heartbreaking what these people have gone through and what they still continue to go through. Um, it's you know, there's a lot of these communities are struggling because they live under a government that took their land, abused their people, massacred them, and is now, you know, kind of just trying to forget about it and brush it all under the rug. When the reality is that when you do that to a whole culture of people, it leaves its mark for generations. You know, for example, one of the programs that the Canadian government had was in the last century, in the 20th century. They had a program called Indigenous residential schools, which was basically I mean, it was cultural genocide. There's really no other way to put it. Indigenous children were forcibly removed from their families, and they were sent to boarding schools that were far, far away from their families, with the sole intent of basically isolating themselves, those children, from their families, their cultures, their language. Um, they and to assimilate them into Christianity. Um, they were not at these schools. These children were not allowed to, acknowledge their identity. They were not allowed to speak their native languages, even if it was the only language that they knew. And any violations of these rules would be met with physical abuse. And a lot of these kids were not taken care of because these schools, number one, were underfunded for how many kids were in them, and number two, it was very much a purposeful attempt of basically genociding these people. It's terrible. Over 150,000 Indigenous children passed through these schools, and the death toll currently is at 6,000, but the reality is a lot of experts are saying that the death toll is a lot higher. We're talking like maybe 5 times higher, maybe 10 times higher, because I'm sure you guys have seen over the last couple of years, they've been discovering all sorts of grave sites on the properties of these schools, unmarked grave sites, where they just keep finding more and more of these kids buried that were a victim to this horrible system. And yeah, a lot of these it's just terrible, because a lot of these kids, for example, in these schools, boys and girls were kept separate, and they, like, for example, if a brother and sister went to the same school, they were not allowed to interact. Literally, the most that the siblings would get to interact with would be like a wave in the cafeteria. And that was another like purposeful idea behind this whole project, to kind of sever the family bond, basically. These children were subjected to diseases. It was there was this one thing I read about how in 1907 people were trying to bring attention to the fact that there was a lot of there were diseases going around in these schools, and there was nothing being done to separate the sick kids from the healthy kids, meaning that it would just pass on immediately. And through that, a lot of them would pass away. And also the death toll isn't accurate as well, because there were a lot of kids that as soon as they became critically ill, they were just sent away to their home, and then they would pass away at their home. So it was just it's very sad. So you can see, and this isn't a program that's like, we're not talking about 150 years in the past. This is a program that was active until the late decades of the last century. It was a program that kept on going, and this is just one of the many examples of the terrible things that Indigenous people in Canada had to experience and go through. And it's obviously something like this is going to leave a generational mark. It's going to be it's you can't just expect people to move on from that. So True North Aid is a nonprofit that focuses on they focus on a lot of things, actually. On one of the things that I saw on their website, for example, that they do is they provide school supplies for kids going to school. That means they give them a backpack and some pens and whatever else is necessary for school. And on the website, I think it said like something between $30 to $40 gives one kid all the supplies they need, which means even if you can't give much to this fundraiser, it's still a big help, because that's you're already changing the life of one kid. Other things they do is they create programs. They host events. A lot of them are focused on kind of rebuilding people's bonds to their culture and their community, something that was severed for a lot of people through the residential schools program. They assist with housing. They also assist with furniture. I think they have a program where they help people who need it get better mattresses. They help them with all sorts of there's a let me actually pull this up, because they list all the pillars to their foundation. So they call it the 8 foundational stones of support. It's called culture, health, food, reconciliation, housing, education, water, self-determination. Water is also another thing that is a big problem in a lot of these remote communities. Um, the Canadian government has not been really doing enough to provide clean water to a lot of these communities. They've been promising it for a while, but it has not happened, and definitely not at the speed that it should be happening. Um, so it's yeah, they do a lot. Um, they provide them with food, any supplies, anything that's kind of foundational to a pleasant life. Um, yeah, groceries are expensive as well. So yeah, and also another thing that I was asked to bring awareness to, as Gap, in the last few months of his life, he was couch surfing, and he didn't really have a home uh, where he was living at that point. Just to talk a little bit about the homeless situation in Canada, and when I was actually looking into this, I've realized that it's gotten so bad that it's kind of hard to find real numbers for it. A lot of people are losing their homes. I found the most recent number I found was that in 2021, 235,000 Canadians experienced homelessness, and I think it was around like 2 million, which in the report it was called hidden homelessness. 2 million people experienced hidden homelessness, which means basically living out of their car, or having to go from friend to friend, having to couch surf basically. It was and this is due to a number of factors: inflation, rent prices are increasing as they are in a lot of places in the world. It's the increase of rent is making it a lot of it's making it really hard for a lot of people to live a sustainable life. Um, I read a sentence where it said that I think like almost half Canadian, like half of all the Canadians are only a few $100s away from truly being in like bankruptcy. If they were hit with like an unexpected uh uh expense out of nowhere, a lot of them are living paycheck to paycheck, and if that happened, they would put them a lot of it would cause them a lot of trouble. And unsurprisingly and unfortunately, the housing situation is especially bad for the Indigenous population because, for example, in Toronto, Canada's largest urban center, Indigenous peoples can constitute around 23% of those experiencing homelessness in the city, even though they make up only around 0.8% of the population in Toronto. Um, in fact, one study found that in 1 in 15 Indigenous peoples in the urban centers experience homelessness, compared to 1 in 128 for the general population. These are unfathomable numbers. These are insane numbers. There was also a part about it that basically talked about how there's a lot of kids that are coming out the foster system, and there's just not enough to there's not enough systems set up to help them and support them. So there's a lot of kids that are going directly out from the foster system to being homeless. It's really it's a really sad situation. It's really it's tough. So if you donate, and to those of you that have donated, it is greatly appreciated, because this is a good cause, and our $2,000 will go a long way to helping people directly. So I think it's a great thing. Um, so lastly, as well, I this is like a little bit more of a personal part is you know, Gap did unfortunately pass away due to suicide, and it's like really whenever something like this happens, it's kind of hard to know what to say. Like protocol almost every time something like this happens, we open social media and we see walls of those numbers and links, and you read about how it'll be followed with like a sentence of "you're not alone," and while I think all of those are obviously well intentioned, I think to many of us that have dealt with those struggles, I don't know if it has the intended effect. Especially when at this point it the more we've been on social media and we've read about all of this, the more it's just beginning to feel like protocol, basically. So there's the we have a very large queer community. A lot of us were going through shit, and there's a lot of you, so there's not a lot that I can say that is every and each one of you have your own life, and your struggles are unique to yourself, and it's so I can't like give you one piece of advice that's going to fix everything, but what I can do is share my own experience and hope that maybe it resonates with some of you. And Anonymous, thank you for the $100 as well. I just saw that. That's amazing. Whoever you are, thank you. That is amazing. That's truly fantastic. So yeah, I figured I've never really talked about this publicly, but I hope that I don't know, this kind of like maybe sparks a conversation or something. So basically, I have dealt with suicidal ideation since I was about 11 or 12 years old. I grew up in a very dysfunctional household. I had to deal with a lot of adult stuff when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I was really stressed out by that point, and yeah, the first time I made plans, I think I was about 12 years old, which at that time I was so stressed out, and I was beating myself up so much that you can't even realize, you don't have the perspective at that point to realize how insane that is, to be so young and have to think about something like that, to even consider something like that. But I did not even admit it to a single other soul until I was in my 20s. I never told a single person about any of this until I was in my 20s, and I was talking to a friend, and he opened up to me about a recent attempt that he had made. And that made me realize that by not talking about it, I was making my friend feel like he was alone in that situation, because he didn't know that I was struggling with the same exact situation. Every time I would be in a therapist's office or in the psychiatrist's office, and they would give me that form that we're all very familiar with, I could honestly just there was a point where I could recite it off the top of my head, the depressive symptoms form, where you have to it's like a 1 to 4 point scale that you have to mark off. Every time, almost instinctually, as soon as it would get to the suicidal part, I would just mark 0 and move on. I never told my therapist about it, and I think a part of it was just because I was kind of scared of the reaction, and also I never told anyone in my life because you're kind of scared of uh, you're scared that it's a bit too much. It's you're scared of uh, you're scared of kind of putting pressure on the other person, which is, when I think about it from my own perspective, if somebody came to me and said, "This is how I feel," um, I would never hold it against them. You know, I would be so glad, and I would be so relieved, um, that oh my God, did we just get another? We got another 50 and 200. Whoever these people are, I just want to say thank you a lot. This is this is very sweet. This is very great. I we have a lot of really great people here. And yeah, I'm I'm really glad that we can all come together right now and have this conversation, and it just I don't know, it's just for a good cause and a good person. um but yeah, basically, yeah, I just never really opened up about it to anyone. um I even have I've lost people in my life to suicide. I've had people extremely close to me attempt it countless times at this point. It's really it's everywhere. Everyone so many people are struggling with this. Yet, it's kind of hard to talk about it because you don't want to. You're kind of afraid that it's a experience that is unique to you, and you don't want to be the um I don't know, you don't want to, you just don't want to be a burden, I guess. um so there's a couple of things that I've started to do over the last, however long, trying to like, thinking about how do I make it how do I make it easier for myself, how do I make it easier for myself every time where I'm in a pretty rough spot in my life, and my mind immediately starts to run away from me, and it's literally all that I can think about, right? And my mind goes back to something that I started doing when I was 17. It was a particularly rough week, and my head was not in a great place at all. And I was walking to my therapist's office. I'd gotten off the bus, and I had to walk through this park, and all of a sudden, rain just starts pouring down. It was like the hardest rain I think I've seen in my life. It was weird, honestly. It was just fucking bizarre. Um, and I don't know why, but it started smiling, and I started laughing, and I was walking down this street past all these people, and I was laughing and I was smiling, and they were probably very uncomfortable, but it was this weird moment for me where, in that moment, for the first time in my life, I became conscious, and I was like, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here right now. And the feeling of that was almost overwhelming. Um, so since then, I've tried to not note down every single time where I have a realization that I'm glad to still be here. Um, and it's always like, the more you have these moments noted down, and the more you can read them, and the more you can, uh, I don't know, like, remember all the times that you were glad that you didn't do it. Um, the it's just it's just something that has been really great for me. So I figured I would share a couple of moments where I had this realization last year. I have a couple here. Uh, One of them. Oh god, dude, I picked the worst day to run out of tissues. This is so fucking bad. One of them was in March, and I was sitting on this carpet with Prezzo, and he was going through this like sketchbook of mine, and he was looking like at all these like little piece of shit drawings that I'd made, and he was like kind of asking me about them, and this like just like a genuine curiosity that he showed towards them, and this like smile that he had on his face. I literally, in that moment, I remember thinking it hit me again, and I was like, okay, I gotta note that down. So I wrote it down. The next time was in June. It was the beautiful thing about summers here is that it gets bright really early. It'll be as bright as midday at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. That means you can go out at 3 a.m. and wandering through the city is one of the most beautiful things because it's completely fucking empty, yet it feels like it's daytime. And I just, my friend Owen was visiting me, and so we went on this like walk. We were like riding around on bikes, smoking cigarettes, and just like nobody out. There was not even cars on the road. We were just like riding our bicycles in the middle of the road. And we went to the beach, and the water was just the most beautiful I've ever seen it. The sky was reflecting on it in such a nice way that you really couldn't tell where the water ended and where the sky began. It was just, all of this was just this like beautiful amalgamation. And we were on this gigantic beach, and it was just the two of us, and it was, I think, one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And and then some like random guy appeared out of nowhere and said, he came up to us and he said, hey boys, it's a little bit early, isn't it? And then we laughed at it, and then he started saying how like today's gonna be the perfect weather for sailing, and then he just walked off. And it felt like that guy just spawned in randomly just to like give me that nice interaction. And I just remember after I went home and I laid in bed, it's all I could think about. It's really what it all comes down to is in those moments you're so fucking glad that you didn't give in, and to think about Gap and to think about myself at 17. It just really breaks my heart because there's so many amazing and wonderful things that I would have missed out on, and it's really just devastating. It's really sad. Um, and the last moment that I noted that I wanted to share was in October. I was babysitting my nieces, and I really was not in a good place. I was it was a pretty rough time for me. A lot of last year was, and I kind of, I don't know, I usually when I'm with my nieces I'm able to like put on a smile and be like the cool uncle. But that day I felt really bothered, and I don't know, I was a little bit more quiet, and out of nowhere my My older niece hugs me and turns to me and says, I really love spending time with you. And that was just like I kind of freaked out because as soon as she said that, I was just I was fucking I was destroyed, dude. There was no hope for me. um, but you know you can't cry in front of the nieces. You just can't do that. So I had to I had to turn away. But I hugged her back and I was just like, that is I think like one of the sweetest things that I've heard in the longest time. Um, so yeah, it is. That's those are the kind of things I try to note down, and they help me a lot. And I hope that that can I don't know that it resonates with you guys in some way. Um, and it just I know what it's like to be to feel crushed by that loneliness, that feeling of isolation, that just it feels terrible. It feels really really um hard and tough, and it really like you know I know what it's like to be in a huge crowd of people, to be surrounded by people that are all smiling at you and they're being nice to you, and you're feeling so much love, yet you've never felt more alone. I know how all that feels, and those feelings are not permanent. There are you will have moments where you're able to feel happiness, and you're able to actually accept the love that you're receiving, because that's also something that I struggle with a lot. When I think it's a problem for a lot of people like us, where it's you don't know how when you finally like receive all the love, you don't know you don't feel like you deserve it, and you don't know how to accept it, so you get really awkward and weird about it. Um, so yeah, it's 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 kind of you will have moments where you don't feel that way, basically. Um, and I also, because there's a lot of queer people in this chat, I also know what it's like to grow up and feel like there's just like nobody around you even acknowledges any of that shit, or if they do, it's not in a very positive way. It's very like I know what it feels like to hear someone mention gay people in a neutral way, and feeling like the biggest sigh of relief of your life, just because they didn't say something like really shitty and hateful, and it's just because like they maybe just used the word, they talked about a gay person and then follow it up with like some of the most like shitty things you've ever heard in your life. um I know what that's all like, and now I'm in an environment where I'm starting to think everybody is gay. I don't know what's going on. Like I think absolutely everybody's gay now. And I've also seen people around me grow to understand and accept. I have family members who, as years have gone by, and they've actually taken time to kind of try and understand this the subject. They've grown empathy, and it's all of this is possible. It's all um it's not hopeless. And especially when you're a teenager, believe me, you are so far away from everything that life has to offer. You will reach so many spots in your life that are 100 times better, and you'll have so much more freedom. And of course, it does come with its own struggles, but I never find myself thinking, "Oh man, this is as suffocating as it was when I was 16." There's a you feel a lot more comfortable being yourself. You feel a lot more comfortable being around the people that you want to be around, and you know, it's yeah. Second of all, I also want to mention uh to the people that have lost someone in their lives to suicide, um quite naturally we try to, our brain makes us self-reflect and look for our own shortcomings. um but it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's like, it's, I understand how hard it is to not uh to try to not have your brain run away with that. But it's not your fault. And I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever received regarding grief is that it'll always stay with you, and it'll always be a part of you, but you just have to make sure that you leave room for other things too. And I think hearing that really, really, kind of put it in perspective for me. And I think it helped me a lot. So, yeah. To all of Gap's friends in chat, um, I honestly really wish you guys the best. Uh, you guys really do seem like such a fun bunch, and yeah, really just I'm so grateful that Gap's story reached me. Um, I am so glad to have learned about him. Um, I'm really grateful to this community. Thank you to everyone that's been donating. You guys are wonderful. Um, there, now I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I'm just really I don't know. I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation. Um, you know, not to fucking whip out the old soundboard here, but you guys are not alone. Even if you feel a little bit suffocated alone in real life, believe me, I went through the same shit. You can make friends on the internet too, and it'll tide you over. We got some good people here that I'm sure you can you can talk to. There's always people in the community tab looking for friends. So, you know, and yeah, just don't be afraid to talk to your friends about what's going on with you. Don't feel like a burden. Don't close yourself off. It is good to talk about everything. Um, just it's yeah. I there's a lot of you, and I appreciate you guys listening to me here today. I'm sorry that I was like bumbling around like an idiot at one point. Um, but yeah, Gap's story has it's really impacted me. I will never forget him. Um, I spent a lot of time this week just kind of thinking about him, and You know, I wish he was still here, but you know, we will catch him in the next one. So, um, thanks everybody. Thank you to everybody that donated. Again, seriously, 2.7 grand is huge, and it will do so much for a cause that, you know, was very personal to Gap. Um, yeah. Um, thank you again. Thank you again to Tristan as well. Um, but yeah. I'm trying to think if I have like anything else to say. I don't know. Yeah, everybody, you know, everybody do something nice for yourself today. You know, watch like a good movie or something. Do make a hot cocoa. Hot cocos are good. They're good and they make me feel nice. They've always, you know, they always made me feel a little bit warm on the inside. Um, but yeah, I did good by Gap. I was pretty nervous going into this because, you know, I was afraid of bumbling my way around this. So I hope I did good, and yeah, we'll never forget you, Gap. Um, thank you for having this conversation with me. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Love you guys. I'll probably be live tomorrow. So, bye everybody.